Hi everyone, Jerry Hall. This is Panama City, Panama. I'm here at the Beneficial Artificial Intelligence Summit, known as BGI 24.
I'm thankful for all the amazing people who have taken the time to come here for a few days and dig deep into the topic of beneficial artificial general intelligence.
I'm here to meet with the world's foremost AI scientists, thinkers, futurists regarding decentralized AI.
Science gathers knowledge faster than society gathers wisdom.
So if you happen to be Homo sapien and you look at what's happening in the world, do you want to partake in this new wealth creation or not?
I'm one of the people pushing back on those who say we've got to slow things down, we've got to stop AI, we've got to regulate it. Everybody's going to die of old age because if we don't have progress.
All of those potentialities are there, both for making amazingly wonderful, transformative decisions, but also for damaging.
It's a critical moment in the path toward general intelligence, which therefore means a critical moment in the evolution of the human species.
Take one, Ben.
Ben, thank you so very much for taking the time to sit with me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
From when you started to what you are watching manifest itself, unfold, and you're a big part of that, how are you contextualizing what you thought of and your hopes and dreams back then to what you're seeing roll out and what you're a part of creating today?
I don't think there are any big new ideas in the AI field today that weren't there already in, let's say, the mid-1970s. Big difference between the AI field now and then is really the addition of scale in terms of amount of data that you can feed in, the amount of processing that you can affordably buy, the speed with which you can network. The extra scale has allowed a bunch of the old ideas to start really working. And this, of course, has brought commercial applications. The commercial applications have brought more money and more people and more enthusiasm, and it's created an utterly different cultural vibe than existed before. I mean, you couldn't talk about these things in a serious session at an AI conference or a seminar at a university. You would talk about it over a beer in the bar in the evening at the AI conference, but not in the actual AI seminar, because it was just considered like talking about psychic powers or time travel or something, like just too far off or too crazy, right? So culturally, that's been a tremendous shift then, right? So because now AGI, even superintelligence, can be part of the academic conference and the university AI seminar, and they're even something that heads of state and CEOs of major corporations will talk about. Quite interesting time that we're in, and if I'm right, we're within, say, 3 to 8 years of a major breakthrough to human level AGI.
Our world is shifting whether people like it or not. There's a better version of yourself being created whether you like it or not. AI is happening whether you like it or not.
Tufi, thank you so very much for sitting down and having a chat with me. While we're here, and I have you under the lights and in front of the camera, I wanted to ask you, some would say this is an uphill battle, right? Corporates own AI. This is an uphill fight, yet you choose to do that. I'd like to know why.
Well, I mean, there's nothing else I'd rather be doing. Let's put it this way. This is probably the best opportunity that Homo sapien ever worked on, and it's potentially, it could be like the worst thing we've ever worked on. Almost everyone would agree that it's not likely to be anywhere in the middle. Very few that would say that it's in the middle. So I'm a lot more on the optimistic side, because I'm a huge believer in the cooperative effort that we can do, Homo sapien, to build this thing that can be the best thing as opposed to the worst. You get folks that they come back and say, well, we want this whole thing to stop. That option is not on the table. How do we get that message to these guys? Do we have time to only focus on getting the message? And the reality is no, we started building it ourselves and we're just marching with it, and we're gonna win, and we're gonna win. And that's how it's gonna go. If we are given the opportunity as the only species on planet Earth to create this thing that could outlive us in the event of we don't end up living or whatnot, that is perhaps like the biggest opportunity, and we should really take it, embrace it, and get everyone to partake in its creation. Some people, they say, but what do you call that? Do you call it utopia, protopia, whatever you want to call it? It's certainly a future better than the world we've received it, and for generations to come. And I think it would be nice to do our best to push it in that direction.
We are part of that potential. We are part of the evolution of the universe itself, as well as its consciousness.
Do you believe it's possible to code morality?
That's a beautiful question, because to me, morality itself isn't about a code.
Okay.
It's a deeper systemic comprehension. If we want to have benevolent and not just beneficial AI, it's also a very deep commitment towards the training and I'd like to say the parenting of AI. Yes, so wisdom-based,
yes,
values-based.
And so that leads me to another question.
Yes.
And so knowing that eventually AI will surpass our intelligence, we can't continue to get away doing the things that we've been doing for as long as we've been doing them. In other words, there's a new sheriff in town.
Yes, but is it the sheriff or is it the co-pilot?
I'm here to ask you. I'm here to ask you that question.
Because that makes a big difference, right? Are we using AI in a way to surrogate our shortcomings as a humanity, or can we be using or working with AI rather to help accelerate our maturation? That is much more my focus. So if you're working with AI as a co-pilot, the AI could also help us become conscious of some of our systemic blind spots, of our bias, of our tendency to sacrifice long-term collective well-being for short-term personal gain, help us become aware of those deeper patterns that we may not be seeing, or that we may be thinking on an individual level, but surely I'm making the right choice, but when you're looking at it on the whole, maybe that isn't really a wise decision. So if it is a co-pilot, then artificial intelligence can also help us to accelerate our development, not just from a societal perspective, but in consciousness, in wisdom, in compassion, in empathy.
There are some people who say that there should be no constraints on people's innovations. People should be encouraged to think wisely, but there's no laws on what we do with the software. That it's better for everybody if there's no laws.
I wanted to ask you specifically about AI safety red teams.
So it comes out of a discussion about what should people be able to do with software, what should people be able to do with AI, what testing is appropriate. There isn't enough funding for the people to develop safe and ethical things. Where there's money is in writing software that's going to spy, steal, manipulate, persuade, help people to gamble, help people to plagiarize for their essays. That's where there's money, and that's why governments need to step in and say, we're going to insist that all these corporations do spend enough time on the safety angle as well. Big tech companies, you can't say you're marking your own homework. We need to get involved with external audit. Morality has been debated since thousands of years. And when you ask the philosophers in Oxford, can you tell us what we should put in the software? They say, could you come back in another 2,000 years, please? We might have worked it out. Well, software engineers can't wait 2,000 years, so guess what? They make up their rules by themselves. And it's often a bit rough and ready. It's, well, kill the fewest number of people. Well, maybe some people are more important not to kill than others. And it gets hard. And that's why governments need to step in and say, we're going to insist that all these corporations do spend enough time on the safety angle as well.
The general mentality of what's happening over in Dubai, all the investment in verticals away from oil as the primary driver of your economies.
The leaders of the country and the rulers, they had the vision, oil is not going to be there forever. So at some point, the country's economy should depend on other sources.
Okay.
In UAE, we have a Ministry of AI. I mean, where do you find on earth a Ministry of AI? And it's all about a new way of thinking. So we thought that we need specialized courses for graduate students, so those students, they can take it during their study. And by the time they graduate, they have the expertise. They can now go into the advanced level. And after they graduate, people are ready for the market. People are ready to build something beyond what we are talking about.
Thank you so very much for taking the time to sit with me today. I asked you here because there was something in one of your presentations that I found so profound that I wanted to expand upon this. Science gathers knowledge faster than society gathers wisdom.
I wish it was my statement, but it is not mine.
Okay.
Yes, someone smarter than me mentioned it before, and that is Isaac Asimov. So we find ourselves right now at a time where we are about to unleash a super powerful technology. And we are kind of used to artificial intelligence, but how it has been used, yes, traditionally, is to strengthen the power of those who have power. Because those who are guiding our institutions, they are also making the rules of the game, and the rules are to strengthen their power. So, and imagine what will happen when a superintelligence smarter than all of us will be unleashed. It will play this game much better than us. So we will go to destruction. The only way to step out of that self-destructive game for us is to become aware and to use some wisdom. So biology has created minds, and minds have created culture. And it's a culture that can create empathy or war. We must have this capacity in order to imbue empathy into artificial general intelligence. It's an act of courage which we have to undertake about ourselves if we want to indeed live in a better world and create a more beneficial technology for indeed a more mature society, a more wise society, as Isaac Asimov was saying.
Risk is if we don't have progress, not only are we going to die, but people will remain poor and the world will remain with its problems.
As I looked at the roster of speakers and presenters at this BGI 24, this is the guy to talk to about the intersection of longevity research and AI. And I would just really appreciate your thoughts on that.
Well, everybody at this conference is pretty future-oriented. We realize the potentials for not only AI, but other technologies like biotechnology to improve the world. But to me, the critical goal, the central goal, more important than anything else, is life extension. Really, the promise of AI, to me, the main promise, is that it might better do something about human aging and inevitable death. So I'm hoping that AI will speed up the research. And my view is, which I know is shared by some other people, including Ben Goetzel, the current limited language models are not really the kind of AI that will be able to do that kind of work. So it does require a lot more research. I'm careful with my optimism on AI, but I do think at some point, whether it's these systems or new ones, maybe the ones that Ben's working on, we'll actually be able to crunch the data and think more flexibly and creatively and tackle this problem. But I hope it's sooner rather than later.
Work that I'm trying to do is about getting human intelligence, our brains, to be able to be replicated, created in a form that is not organic. The way in which AI towards AGI is able to help out science to go faster, so that things like the goals that we have in whole brain emulation, where we would have said, okay, doing a whole brain emulation for a fruit fly, something fairly small, still maybe a little bit manageable, where we would have said, okay, this is going to take maybe 15, 20 years to get there. Suddenly the timelines are shrinking because AI is able to help out with things like correcting errors in the data that you're collecting, being able to identify types of synapses, types of neurons. So the timeline is shrinking to where we can say, well, with a little luck, we could do a whole brain emulation of a Drosophila, a fruit fly, in maybe 5 years, maybe double that to 10 if all kinds of problems show up, like grant money disappears or whatever. But that really matters. In particular, when you're talking about this connection between AI and neuroscience, because every time when you do something in this sort of framework, then you get that AI or machine learning is helping neuroscience do better work or more work than they could possibly do with just manual labor. And then at the same time, when you're getting insights from neuroscience, that feeds right back into how do you do AI better. So that speeds up and improves what AI can do and AGI can hopefully at some point do. And you've got this self-reinforcing loop.
Yeah, this virtuous loop.
Yeah. So we're always trying to do this helping science forward and also educate people about what whole brain emulation is.
We are, as a species, tribalistic and egoic in our process, self-centered and operating from want and desire, attachment and aversion, interpretations of our own personal need as our methods of prioritizing our choices. That can't continue in a world where AGI is prevalent.
Can empathy be programmed?
Empathy can code empathy. Intelligence can't. If the coders do not embody consciousness, how could they code for it? If they don't embody compassion and empathy, how can they code for it? How can they recognize it? How can they know when it's true empathy and not a simulacra or a representation of empathy? That empathetic resonance between human beings allows us to walk in each other's shoes, to feel each other's pain. Intelligence itself is not wisdom, and it's not insight or intuition or understanding, and it's not love. It cannot inform the feelings that a mother would have for her child, nor a father for their child. Intelligence cannot embody those qualities of understanding. Love, kindness, care, compassion, they're qualities of consciousness, and they come from the heart.
A computer can never experience emotions. Love. What is love? And this makes us fundamentally different from these AI systems. Pilots, you know, they did simulations fighting with AI. And AI always won. And why? A human pilot would save his life. So he used a maneuver and he was shot in the flank. But the AI doesn't matter because it
has no concept of death.
No. That should make you think when you're developing these systems and you give them the freedom to autonomous behavior.
As these technologies are being developed, the question I always have is, are we taking into account all of that wisdom as one? And I'm actually concerned about my kids' interaction with this technology and how it's literally shaping who they are as humans. As they're developing cognitively and emotionally, are they going to be supported or are they going to be programmed? And the value systems that have built most of our technology are those that have built a lot of things we don't like about the world, a lot of the things that are destroying the world. Growth is better, more is better. Consume whatever we want and have that instant gratification, which again is now being programmed in to get instant gratification. Are we paying attention to what is the value system around that and how is that hurting the delicate balance of sustaining the planet? This is how does smartness turn into decisional, relational care, love, service that's equitable, inclusive, that helps us operate outside of our own wants into something that's constructive for humanity.
How do you make a better world? That's something that I think we should all aspire to. What are these common core values that humans share? Can you order them hierarchically? Can you say that this is the foundation and objectivity, truth, reality? And so I would say those are starting points, and if we can create AIs that have those values, have those things in them, then let them compute, let them do their thing, and then what's going to come out of that is going to be beneficial for humanity.
Because once you have an AI that thinks as well as you and me, this AI can then observe its thought processes in detail. It can modify its code, it can improve itself, it can make many copies of itself and experiment with them in different ways. It's not hard to see how once you get to a human level AGI, there's a lot of avenues by which that human level AGI can create a superhuman AGI, and you then have a series of AIs with ascending levels of intelligence. So we appear to live at a rather fascinating time in history.